Hello and welcome to the Day There Dudes. I'm Izzy.
I'm Rocka. Welcome back, one and all, to our many faithful listeners, growing as we speak. Thank you, France. Thank you, Alaska. Thank you down there in Georgia, in Mexico, in Philippines, Thailand, London, all over the globe. Everybody listening in SpaceX, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for another exciting and interesting episode of the Day There Dudes podcast. And we are continuing our true crime / serial killer series. Now we're heading, away from the well-known, or quote unquote famous, guys, and we're going to someone who probably if you're an avid serial killer fan, you probably will know who the Cannibal of Siberia is, also
Yes,
known
we're going
as
to take
the
our
Siberian
Better
Ripper.
Do plane ride, and we're going to take you down and land in Siberia, specifically to one Alexander Spesivtsev. Again, I apologize if I mispronounced the name, but he's more commonly known as the Siberian Ripper, or let me give a shot at this one, the Novokovnev Ripper monster, Novokuznetstic monster.
Novokuznetstic. Okay. All right.
Spasiba to all my Russian friends. Thank you for a little latitude here.
He's a serial killer and cannibal who was accused or actually convicted of 19 official murder he confessed to, that it could go up to 80 plus.
Well, a fun fact or not so fun fact, background to that is the setting here, okay, in this town, Novkuznetstik. It's a very poor industrious town. So they did not have the money and resources for what you call up to date forensic um, evidence bagging and tagging. One of our expanded Dinner Dudes family could expand on this at another time and date, but they can't do forensic testing DNA wise for the hundreds of different bones that they found in his apartment. They found clothing splattered with 80 different blood for individuals. So, unfortunately, 19 bodies were tied to his murder. He was only convicted of 4. In addition to it, he kind of gets away because he's in that gray area of mental illness.
I don't think there's much of a gray area here, sir.
Oh no,
I
huge
think it's I think
gray
it's
area. And as we will
legitimately
unfold this,
mental. Again, it does not defend or
we're
absolve him of
praising him.
any ill will, any wrongdoing. Just because, and again, because he's batshit crazy doesn't necessarily mean that
Well, one, for example, because of this area of the world and the, I'm not to disparage this area of the world, but because the forensics and police work is not up to par to contemporary resources in more affluent countries and cities, they identified body parts on the clothing worn by the individual,
right,
as opposed to fingerprinting and DNA. So if it ever got to a point where resources can be pulled so they can do further DNA testing, I'm sure it's going to be. He lost track. The number is outrageous. It could be in the 80s plus.
oh yeah, definitely. I
80
mean,
plus people of not just horrific torture and murder, rape, but also cannibalism.
yeah, he would as he called them, he would get street people, quote unquote, and then take them to his apartment, where, depending, he would torture and mutilate them and kill them. And then sometimes he would take their flesh and cook it and have dinner with Mama.
So, where should we begin? From his early beginnings, or go right?
Yeah, well, it's pretty well known, but or it's not.
Nutcase.
Yeah,
This
the
is
span of
really
his crimes was a 5-year span, which coincidentally ties into when he left the hospital. But
oh,
early on, this started way early. His whole thing, which take it away, Rocco.
well, it's him, his mom, his sister, and his dad. His dad was abusive, I think alcoholic. Um, Mom threw him out at some point when he was young, and it was just mom, son, and daughter. And she's nuts too. And you tie in the fact that he was born underweight,
Yeah, he was.
sickly, chronically sickly,
Yep.
and then this ties into later chronically picked on and bullied at school, in the neighborhood, and in town. So that you file to the back of your mind, especially when you have more underlying mental illness issues.
Exactly.
To the point, so a background check has to be put here. In this part of Russia and Siberia, you're given these small apartments. And these apartments are 1-bedroom flats, very cramped, thin walls, blah, blah, blah. Because he was sickly, he stayed in bed with his mama in the 1-bedroom for up to age 12. With constant bedwetting and all this other stuff and sickness. And usually the sick kid stays in bed, and he's been sick for 12 years. The daughter had the living room. No accounts were given at all of any kind of sexual misgoings on between sister, brother, and mama. But again, I just leave it out there. Nothing is normal in this family.
No.
Mama had a great job as a supervisor at some local school with the maintenance department, but then got accused and convicted of stealing. Because in this time period, now you're talking about this is 70s, 80s, Russia's crumbling. The infrastructure is crumbling. People are selling shit, stealing stuff all over the town, getting on the black market. You got to get more money. So this is not really, petty theft. I mean, everybody's doing it. She just got caught. So consequently, she gets another job in the courthouse.
Yeah.
And in the courthouse, she works with criminal cases.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you and I were brought up with maybe some children's books or nice stories, Mother Goose Tales, Aesop's Fable, what have you. No. So Mama of dear Alexander would come home and bring forensics photos, crime scene photos, gruesome, visceral.
Yeah, which she would share with good old Alexander at a very young age.
This
So
was dinner time talk.
yeah. So
That's
obviously, as it's been stated, family life wasn't very normal. Okay. Later on, he started to show sadistic tendencies. Okay. And in 1988, he met his first girlfriend.
this becomes very pivotal.
Go with that.
He was 18 at the was he 18? Yeah,
Yeah.
he was 18 in time 1980. He met his first girlfriend. We'll leave her name out for respect. They frequently argued. Now she was now living with him mostly. Mama and daughter had moved to another apartment closer to their workplace. Mama and daughter both worked at the courthouse. So, bizarre gets stranger, gets more bizarre. So they funnel money back to him and check on him periodically. But now he's got a girl, they come less and less, but they still kind of keep his living up. In the very beginning, he promises this, he promises that. He's into poetry.
Yeah, he's a poetic soul.
He's a poetic soul. He's got that, literature eye. Woohoo! Now they have a fight, right? It gets ugly. For a while, nobody sees a girlfriend for a while until parents, who girlfriend is also from a damaged home, a broken home with alcoholism and domestic abuse. She's not going to stand for this shit.
No,
So
of
she
course.
back, which was a mistake. I'm sorry, let me rephrase. It's always good to fight back, but this was not a fight she's going to win. So I take that back. So he basically keeps her hostage in his apartment and tortures her, beats her,
Hmm.
everything you think of until the family demands that they go into the apartment and see what's going on.
It was for about a month.
This is a long time.
They did this.
Starved, tortured regularly, and beaten. The ugly side of Alexander comes out. Very sadistic. And when the police come in, they find her malnourished, tortured, beaten, with sores all over her body.
Jeez.
She finally is taken to the hospital. He's arrested. And within a few hours, I think 24 hours actually, she dies of sepsis. And sepsis is a systemic infection. Infection is rampant in your body. It overwhelms your white blood system and your immune system, and you succumb to whole body wide infection. So you and I can interpret a different way. I'm sure parents would agree with us. This is murder.
Yeah,
It didn't happen right then and there, but he did everything to contribute to the murder.
of
And
course.
if the cops did not come, she dies in
Yeah.
his custody. This is the point where he now gets tried and convicted and diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Yeah. He's assigned to the Oriole Special Psychiatric Hospital.
And this is where the standard Izzy and Rocka mockery of the system, the bell is chimed. Ding, 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 ding.
Because the system, no matter where, always fails. And this is where, I mean, eh, okay.
He was supposed to be in there for a while. He was supposed to be cared for, given therapy, investigated. I mean, all you could think of. But due to some paperwork debauchery, he's let go. But
Shocking.
the system has him still there
Yeah.
in the facility.
So he stays 3 years.
And where does he go? He goes back to his apartment, the famed apartment, was it 523? Well, his famed apartment, which has become now a torture chamber of sorts. And he goes back to his own haunting grounds.
Yep.
And
He begins hanging out with, or well, not hanging out, but
well,
associate.
he gets a Doberman,
Say
right?
again?
He has a Doberman,
Yes.
and the Doberman could be pivotal as we'll unfold this thing later. So the Doberman's is his favorite dog. Everyone knows he's psycho. Everybody knows he did this to the girlfriend. It's a cramped apartment building in a poor city in Siberia. There's homeless abound. There are people out of work abound. Parents have to work all these hours and jobs. Kids are roaming the streets free. For Alexander, this is perfect pickings for his new lust in life, which is torture and murder. Kill. Oh, good. Getting back to the prison. While incarcerated, he was duped by some fellow prisoner. I mean, believe who you want in a psycho ward, to put metal balls inserted into your ureter to make you more virile. This does not work, people. Public service announcement here. Don't do that. Please don't.
Well, as we're a public service announcement, we could just say, I mean, kind of catch the bag already, but yeah, warning, graphic details, and accounts of
Because of doing this, he induces sexual dysfunction upon himself. So
shocking.
this plays into his other captives and his now growing anger towards children, women, men. I don't know how this factors in, but capitalism. So he becomes this raging, angry preacher of sorts with a Doberman that you don't want to be a part of. And he just roams around town. Now, by and large, he's antisocial, but he's out and about and he's hunting people.
Yeah.
Was one account of me, he met some young boys, by young, probably in the teenage bracket, and he convinces them to rob his apartment. Of course, he's telling them that's somebody else's apartment, but he's telling them there's jewelry there, there's money, all stuff. I'll get you in. So he gets them to a point. I mean, see, he's not stupid.
No.
He's rather clever. And this is how he dupes like 3 boys to go into the back way. He pretends to have some key, which he always had the key, gets into the back way cellar, gets him into the service elevator and come up, which, by the way, him and his wacky family only take the stairs to the 9th floor to his apartment. They take stairs. They must love the exercise. I don't know. They don't, the fear of elevators. But he takes them up to the apartment, gets him into the apartment, and the boys become a little suspicious. Like, he knows this place too laid out. Where's the riches? There's a stench. He proceeds to take a knife and stab him. Eventually kills all 4 boys. Does not take the bodies away. Kind of stacks them up into the bedroom. And he goes about his life. He sleeps there. He eats. He does stuff until Mommy Dearest comes along. Mommy Dearest comes in, smells the stench, looks around, sees what's happening. And what does wacky Babushka do?
What?
She helps him out. She helps him dismember and clean and put him away. These 4 rotting corpses have been decomposing for nearly a week. And they take these buckets and they cut up the bodies into buckets. And she takes it down the 9 flights of stairs to the Alba River, close to where she worked in the school, and dumps the bodies into the Alba River.
Yeah.
For the bodies that can't be disposed because it's too many and too heavy, it's what's for dinner. And they start cooking the bodies. As we move along here, let's get to the 1986.
That's
where the conviction really starts happening, because he's now doing this stuff for a few years. There's 3 girls of varying ages, 12 to 14, that are last seen at a store buying some items. And they've gone missing now. Now, again, I hate to reiterate this over and over again. This is a economically depressed town in frigid, cold Siberia. It's borderline poverty. It's not uncommon to see dead bodies. It's not uncommon, but here in the Alba River, it was becoming more common to have body parts turn up.
Yeah, I mean, now again, you're right. It's not a bustling,
No, but it is 1986, and 1986 Russia is on the precipice of collapsing. Soviet Union, I think, dissolves officially 88, 89. So it's getting to that point.
But it's been freaking. It's been. It's just frustrating how the justice system, the everything. See, all these people, they act with impunity, and something always happens. You know, just one little thing fails, and boom. I mean, paperwork is misplaced or misfiled, and 80 people die.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hate to keep putting up the economic disparity, but neighbors have forever been calling the police because the music is too loud from his
And
apartment.
they all know he's crazy.
They all know it's crazy. But the cops, and I get it, the cops at the time in this part of Russia, in this city, they're not going to waste their time and money
No, of course not. They're not.
on music. So nobody's checking in on that. You lucky if they get them to come out to a real crime. And unfortunately, there was a lot of real crime happening here, but you know what I'm saying. So these three girls go missing. The local authorities pieced together that they were last seen by an elderly woman with grocery bags. So they comb the databases there. They find out who she is. A lot of people know who she is. It's not a big town. So they know who she is. And they also cross reference it with people with mental disabilities or people criminal activity or something. Not a compelling match, but they know at least one lead where this elderly person lives. So the police go up there. They
Yeah.
could smell a little bit of the stench. They finally break down the door. It's empty as far as Alexander goes. But what they did find,
It took them over a year. I mean, when they went, they kind of didn't. A year later, they went back,
and that's when they found,
and they finally figured and decided to investigate. That's when they found.
there's a torso in the bathtub. There's a human rib on the carpet floor. The Doberman is at the corner chained up, chewing on a human bone, probably a femur. There's dead bodies everywhere.
Bro, it sounds like a horror movie. I'm telling you, it sounds like
Hannibal the Cannibal, but in a more savagery way. The girl, and for this instance, I'm not going to say the last name, but first name Olga.
yes,
Olga was chained up, laying there near death.
yeah. She was 15 on the couch with multiple stab wounds to her chest and abdomen.
But she was alive enough. Unfortunately, sadly, she passes away after being rescued. But she was alive enough to give some detailed accounts as to what this guy, Alexander, did to them. Three of them were caught, and they were lured there by
Mm-hmm.
Babushka Mama, who asked them to help her with her grocery bags. Upon entering the house, they were attacked by Alexander.
Mm-hmm. They were trapped. Essentially trapped in there. That's it.
Yes, she lured victims to the apartment for uh, baby boy. He killed one instantly, chained the other one, and then chained Olga too. Eventually, raping, molesting, torturing both of them, put out cigarette butts on them, hacked them, and then slowly he killed the second girl. He then made Olga decapitate the body of her friend. He would use some of the decapitated parts to cook meals and serve them the food of her friend, and give bits and pieces of the friend parts to the dog. He then would repeatedly rape her, torture her, cut her, beat her, everything, while he let the decapitated and decaying corpses remain next to Olga. And they asked Olga, how did you get here? How were you lured? And in, whatever strength she had left, because I believe she too passes, I think. I don't think she survives.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah,
Says
she put him.
Babushka. So she's the one that says Babushka. I mean, now the accounts kind of vary how he was ultimately caught, but when he was caught, which is not glamorous at all, there's nothing really to it, but when he was caught, apparently there's mother and son joint tapes of interviews where they kind of go at it like you would any mother and son,
Right.
accusing the other one, saying this, whatever. Oh no, you were part of it. No, she was saying, no, I just cleaned up. Like, oh, son made a mess. I cleaned up. That's all I did. I didn't make the mess. Holy shit. You are not just an accomplice. You're just as guilty. You lured these victims, unsuspecting victims, to your house. You let your son butcher, torture, rape, murder, kill them all, then cannibalize their parts. Then you help dismember them and then scatter the evidence. No, I was not part of it. I just helped clean up some blood.
Yeah, he was. It was very, like you said, nondescript. How he was arrested. They found him a week later in front of his house with no food and barefoot.
Oh, he's one whack job. There was also a diary recovered.
Yes, there was. He detailed his crimes, and he did not deny any of what he did when he was captured.
When he was captured, he confessed to everything and some. And if somehow court case happens, they start proceedings, and then he changes his tune.
Going back before, just so everyone knows, when we mentioned about the 80 plus bloodstained clothing, that was when they found Olga and everything. They also found the 80 pieces of bloodstained clothing.
They found 40 pieces of jewelry. They found photographs, Polaroids. So unfortunately, they had direct forensic evidence to tie him to 4 murders. In all, 19 murders he's implicated in. But when you take the full body of scope of murders, blood, evidence, unaccounted belongings, it's 80 plus. That's not including anything he's ever done also elsewhere and didn't bring back or no evidence of.
Yeah, and obviously,
Very well could be in the hundreds.
Obviously, he was found insane, and as you mentioned, Olga passed away the day after she was discovered. And he resides today at Kamishin Regional Hospital, where he gets full meals. And his mother,
He's been released.
she was complicit or charged with complicity for 3 murders, was sentenced to 13 years in prison.
I believe she was released in 13 or 12. So she was released, and she met up with daughter, and they initially wanted to move back to the apartment.
Now let me ask you, where was the daughter when all this was going on?
The daughter had no forensic evidence tying to her. I think the only thing she could have been convicted of is knowledge of, which, again, we must reiterate to everybody, you and I and most of our audience, we're not familiar with Russian law and proceedings. I don't know how this really works. If this were here in the States, you're implicated on knowledge of a crime and you didn't come.
This was in the 90s. This was already.
So I don't know. She was not convicted of anything.
I mean,
again, if this was the States and you had knowledge of these horrific crimes going on and you did nothing, I believe there's enough evidence to be charged with something. I don't know exactly. We should get some of our legal team on this. But she was absolved from everything here. To the point that she lives with Mama. Mama was obviously denied, and the community denied them access and re-entry into apartment, whatever, 539, whatever it was. And so they moved away 40 miles away. Still, Izzy, she was involved this heavily, and she was released 13 years later back into general public.
I mean, right now, Alexander spends his time undergoing psychiatric testing, of course, and writing poems about the evils of democracy. When asked how he justifies his crimes, he answered, quote, "How many people have our democracy destroyed? If people thought about that, there wouldn't be any of this filth. But what can you do?" End quote.
Goddamn democracy.
And of course, last but not least, he wants to sell his brain to an institute so they can study his brain. And of course, he wants to be paid in advance in cigarettes.
Well, there you have it, friends. We thought it interesting to take a turn to another part of the world and also investigate someone who's also a cannibal. But he has concurrent issues with other serial killers in as far as some really twisted upbringing, similarly twisted guardianship, and um, a sickly childhood and a bully combined with schizophrenic and other mental disorders. It's like the perfect maelstrom, and now you throw him into a economically depressed situation with prey, slim pickings.
I think this one was a little different than the ones we've had, particularly because he had almost a full accomplice.
Yeah, cleanup crew and bait.
The perfect storm of where he lived to what he was doing to the mistakes that happened that led him to his release to all that led all these people to, unfortunately lose their lives to this,
Yeah, in
on,
classic demented fashion, he justifies everything he's done. He has hidden rage, and it's not hidden anymore, and his disgust towards all people, because this individual killed both men, women, young children, and some adults. You know, a very lasting, chilling depiction I read were two young boys' boots found in his apartment that fit ages 2 and 4.
yeah, just
The boots. There was no one who escaped his terror and his hunt.
no.
So there is our Siberian cannibal. A lot here to digest. Sorry, poor choice of words, puns not intended. Thank you for liking, subscribing. Hit that button. Send us an email. Give us some feedback. Let us know
Let
what
us
you think.
know if you continue to like the stuff. We'll keep bringing you more, more and more, interesting characters. Yeah, the best choice of words, but yeah, interesting stories. So yeah,
Stay vigilant out there, people. Remember, rock on and save the whales.
take care, guys.